Hello, everybody. What this video is this is going to be the fourth Tetris video. So if you look in the assignments, you'll see that this is not due for points, but this is going to add a couple of things to our Tetris game to kind of finish it up. Now, I say to finish it up, but to really finish it up, there will probably be needing to be one more like super short video just to show you how to export it in the right format that you could run it outside of Eclipse. But anyway, we'll just go ahead and open up this lab and see what we need to add. So what we need to add that we don't have is a game over screen, but we need to add the ability to have a game over in order for that to make sense. And when a game is over, we need to be able to start a new game. And part of starting a new game is to be able to kind of clear the board and reset the level and so on. Um, So this video goes right after the Tetris Lab 3, and I'm not going to go through the steps of copying the sample code, but if you scroll to the bottom, I am providing sample code or starting code for main and for the rest of them, main, piece, and game area. And this starting code is exactly where I finished the video for the Tetris Lab 3. So I actually have over here in Eclipse. You'll see that it says Tetris Lab 3 is open, and I have the main, the piece, and the game area from there. And they were all selected because I had just copy pasted those into Lab 16 a minute ago. So anyway, I'm not going to go through the steps of making a new project and copying the code into these files. You can see that in all of the other Tetris labs. Now, having said that, let's just go ahead and kind of get started. The first thing I'm going to do is actually not going to be listed here, and that is I made a better like Tetris image. I think if we looked at our where we ended up last time, we had this, and I kind of didn't like this. So what I didn't like about it was I couldn't really, there's kind of a grid image in the background here, but you can't really see it. And in here, in order for the colors to look good, the background needs to be dark. Um, but if I wanted to put these in little boxes, then those boxes should be dark. But then if the boxes are dark, then the background here should be lighter. And so anyway, using that Photopea app that I linked in the previous lab, I just went over to, I could probably open it. It's probably might even be open right now. Um, I just went here and I just kind of adjusted all the colors and drew some boxes in here. And you can see I have like these shapes kind of being drawn in various places. And like I think I inverted the colors to change light to dark and dark to light. And so that's why there's like I had to make the Tetris color lighter. Anyway, the point is I have this different backdrop that I think is going to look a little nicer. Feel free to draw your own though, right? So anyway, back over here, if I were to save this, I could save this. I right click on here and I go save image to downloads. I don't have to do that because I already did that. Trying to go down here. And you see that this backdrop 2 here is that file. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the backdrop, which is actually not described in the lab. So I'm going to open up Eclipse. And if we remember how we added the backdrop last time, then all I did was I opened up my file browser. It works the same in Windows. And I'm going to drag this file called backdrop 2, which is the one I just downloaded. Yours might be named differently. Uh, Over here. And again, I'm gonna drag it to, you see I'm highlighting the name of the project, and that's where I want to put it. And it'll ask if I want to copy files, and I say, yes, I do. Okay. And so now you see backdrop 2 there. And if I were to run this, nothing changes here. So in order to show my new backdrop, what I'll have to do is in main, if I kind of, I'll do Control F and I'll look for backdrop. I think it was called backdrop.png. So if I start searching for that, I can find this code that we added that says imageio.read new file backdrop.png. So I can change this backdrop to here to match the name of my actual file. So since my actual file was -2, I could add that there. I can change the error message too if I want, but not really necessary. So now I'm going to use that other backdrop. Let's see what that looks like. And so you can see that I think it does look nicer, but you can see that a small problem is that now the stuff is not inside of the boxes, right? So you need to adjust this a little bit. So like the next piece needs to move down a little bit. And we did talk about this in the last video. There's this draw UI function in the main.java, and there's a lot of y plus equals lines that are kind of moving down the board. So like I need the next piece to move down a little bit, right? So I find the code that says next piece, which is right here. And then right before that is where the y value is adjusted. So like if I move this to like 160 and I run it, let's see what it looks like. Ah, see, now it's kind of fitting in there. But actually, I kind of want to move that down just a little bit, right? Because these are, yeah, like it looks like this could whole thing could move down just a little bit. So maybe 180. That looks good. I think that looks good. But then I see down here, the lines and the level are not fitting in their box. So the lines can move down a little bit. So I see where's lines. Lines is right here. So right above that, we need to move this down a little bit. Let's try 130 or 140 maybe. Okay, so lines is in a good place, but the level is not. So that's not good. And then I'm thinking maybe these aren't gonna look good vertical. Maybe I should put them horizontal. Um, if I wanted to change that, that'll be a little bit tedious, but we can do it. In fact, let's go ahead. So you know what? I don't want to. Let's do this. Well, okay. It's just a little bit tedious, right? So, if I want to move lines over to the left, then I have to change the X value here. So if I run this lines to move it left, I would need to subtract some number from the X value, which is right here. So like I'd have to add like maybe minus, 50. What's that look like? Okay, it's a little bit over. We can move it a little more, I think. So maybe 120. I'm just guessing at the numbers. That's maybe a little too much. So maybe 100. That's probably good, at least for now. And then I need to move the level up here. So if I'm going to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line that says lines, copy that, and come down here to the one that says level, and I'm going to overwrite it. But then I'm going to change this to, say, level. And now, of course, it's going to look dumb because oh, actually, it doesn't look dumb. Well, it does, but it doesn't look the way that I thought it would look. So these Y values are kind of issues. So, hmm, okay, let's back this up. So we just did lines. So we have lines here. That's all we did. Now, in order to get level in the same line, probably the easiest way, honestly, is just to go up here and go lines, or sorry, not lines, level. Just put some spaces between there. That'll be the easiest. And let's see. Uh, what did we have an issue here? What's going on? Line spaces levels, and it's not. Oh, never mind. It's because lines spaces level here. This is where we actually are drawing it. So change both of those. Okay. Um, that doesn't look good, right? So let's see. What do we have to change now? Probably this minus 100 needs to go away. Okay. Lines and level now look good. Um, think they can move down a little bit even. So maybe I go up here and maybe change this to 160. Yeah, that looks okay. So the lines and level look good. Now the rest of this stuff down here looks bad. So what we can do is let's get rid of some of these lines. So we're printing lines and level, and then we're printing, let's see, lines, and then drawing the lines, and then we're changing the Y value. So what if we were to just kind of delete all this code? We might have to add it back, but let's delete all this code and see what we have now. So we have lines, level, and then 0, which I think is the number of lines that we've completed. So what we could do, first of all, I see that this number is kind of high. Kind of want to move it down a little bit, which is probably this Y value. So maybe we change that to like 48 or something. Maybe that's fine for right now. And then this number, though, needs to move way over here, right? So what we might have to do is when we're drawing these lines here, we're getting the number for how many lines have been cleared in the game, and then we're just drawing that string. But in order to get this in the right place, we might have to do like minus 100 or something like that again in order to get that number moved over. And look at that, we did get it moved over. So that's good. Maybe we can do 80, maybe a little more, maybe 90. There we go. That looks good. And then we need to do the same thing for level now. So if I copy these two lines that are displaying the uh, lines, and we can do string level equals value of, and it says get lines cleared, but I think there is also a get level that we added. And then we can change the word lines to level here. And if we look at it now, you see that we're kind of drawing them in the same place because we copy pasted the lines. But we can move this over to here. How do we do that? Well, we can take this line here, which is the kind of the X value where we're displaying this, and instead of the minus 90, let's get rid of the minus 90, see where it goes. Now it's in the middle. So maybe we need to do like maybe like a plus 90 or plus 80 or something like that. That's okay. It's a little off center, it feels like, right? So maybe we do 85. That looks good. So, you know, this looks okay. Maybe the score could be a little bit lower. Well, you have to, you're just trying to make it look good to you, or at least that's what I'm trying to do. But if I make this go a little bit more, then everything is going to move down the page by that much. And so I might need to do like 48 here. And then if I want this to move maybe up a little, then I can maybe subtract a little bit from this. Although, again, it's up to you. All right. You know what? This is enough. This looks good, right? So if we look at our game now, we've got a game that sort of works, but we can clear lines. At least I think we can. If we ever get a piece that will let us clear a line. There we go. So we can clear lines, and when you clear lines, your score goes up, and the number of lines cleared goes up. And I think that the level is based on if you clear 10 lines, your level goes up. And that's what the code that we have in there does now. So pretty good game. But all this is just where we left off. All I've done is rearrange the information here in this panel. So let's go back and actually look at the lab here. So here's what we need to do, right? Reminder, we're adding game over screen and logic and stuff. So first thing we need to do, let's add something called reset game the game area.java. And so this is pretty simple. If we look at our code in game area, like the game area has this grid, and the grid is this, right? It's the background. And so um, when we start a new game, we need to make sure that this thing is clear. And also, when we start a new game, we need to make sure that this number is zero, this number is one, and this number is zero. And so if you just come down here and anywhere in here, maybe right after the game area, we can add a method called just reset level or reset game. What's it supposed to be called? It's supposed to be called reset game. So what do we need to do to reset the game? Well, we need to clear the game area, which the constructor does that already. So here we'll just copy paste that from here to here. So grid equals new, so that'll make it blank. Color, rows, columns. So that's a new background. But then we also want to make sure that we reset these variables, the lines cleared and the score and the level. So you just go level 1, score 0, lines cleared 0. So that's all you have to do to reset a game. I missed the fact that I need to say that this is public void reset game. Void means we don't return anything. The only function that doesn't need that is what we call the constructor up here. So now we have a reset game thing. Cool. Now we need to make that work in game over. So the first thing we need to do, and this is step one, is it says add a game over Boolean. So we need a way to keep track of whether or not the game's over. So over in main, we have all these variables near the top, right? And these are all the variables that have something to do with our game. So wherever you want to add it, just add, it could be private, could be public, it doesn't actually matter. Um, just a Boolean, and we'll call it game over. Okay, simple as that. And if you want to, you can put in a value to start. So like if I say game over is false, then the game will start not game over. Um, and so what we're going to do then is if the game is over, game over will be true. And if the game is not over, then game over will be false. And that's all this variable does. So you can see private Boolean game over true. Cool. It says to do that around line 50. Where did I add it? 26. Could have been anywhere in here. All right. Modify update position to freeze when the game is over. So if the game's over, right, we don't want blocks to fall if the game's over. So what you can do is you find the update because there's a function called update position. So I'm just scrolling down. Here it is. And update position, right? This is what actually like you can control the piece and we check collision and we do all the code in here, right? Well, right here, we can just do this. We can just say if game over, and so you could say it this way, if game over equals true, we can just finish. So return would just mean that we immediately leave update position. So what that does for us is normally you would be moving the pieces around. But if the game over is true, we just return immediately and then nothing happens. Let's just see what we have now. So we don't actually see a change because we haven't actually made the game over yet. I think what we could do is if we go up here and I change this to true to start with, you see now the game is frozen. But if the game over is false, then the game functions. So we add that to the update position, and then the rest of it is fine. So we just make this little change, and now the game freezes if the game's over. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out when the game is over. Okay. And so the idea behind that is if we scroll down, when a piece falls, when it hits the ground, it freezes, right? It freezes and then we make a new piece. And then this one freezes and then we get a new piece. And it freezes and we get a new piece, right? And there's code that does that. And if we scroll through, we'll find that code and it's right here, right? Because this is where it says current piece equals next piece and the next piece equals get a random piece. And so what we're going to do though is this. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, where we put this in here. Like it could be right here or it could be below here. This is where the code to check for a game over is, because the way you know that the game should be over is this. So like the piece hits the ground, the piece hits the ground, the piece hits the ground, do a few of them. So you see what's happening? Do you see how it's putting the pieces over the pieces that are already there? Well, we can actually use that as our game over because when we try to put a piece over a piece that's already there, that means, that there was no room for it. And if there's no room for it, then that should be game over. So this is where we would want to do that. So what we're going to do is right after we lock the current piece to the game area, and then the next piece becomes the current piece, let's check for collision. So we have this function called check collision. You can see it right here. So it's called game area check collision. If game area check collision for the current piece, and normally we use 0, 1 means we're not trying to move it in the X direction, but we are trying to move it in the Y direction. But we're not even going to try to move it. So we'll try to move it 0, 0. And what that'll do for us is it'll check whether or not the current piece that we just made is colliding with another piece. And if it is, guess what? Game over should be true. So I think what this will do now, if it works, is that when it tries to put a new piece on the board, if the new piece is colliding with an old piece, then it just immediately ends your game. So let's try. So we'll just put pieces down, and what should happen is when it gets to the top and the game should end, then it should freeze. See? So this is a little bit different than what it was doing before because you'll see that this piece went here and then now nothing's happening. It's not like flickering as new pieces come in because the game has now frozen. Um, so it's as simple as that to make our game over work, but we need to tell the user that the game's over. So the next thing we need to do, and so let's see what the code looks like. So you see they have this. Here it's right after next piece. So they have in the sample, this line is up here, but I don't think it actually makes much difference. The game will still end either way. So the game ends. Cool. What now? Well, now we want a game over screen. So the game over screen is going to be quite similar to stuff we're already doing. So like this right here and this right here and this right here, this is all just displaying text, right? So what we want is we're going to write a new function called get the um, actually this isn't really, we didn't have a function for it. It's just in there. But if it's game over, what do we want to draw? So it sets the color to a new color 0, 0, 0, 180. So what this is the color, this is the red component, green component, blue component, and this is what they call alpha. And alpha is transparency. So what this is doing is it's setting the color to black. 0, 0, 0 is black, but transparent. So this is like transparent black is the color. and then it's going to fill in the entire rectangle. And actually, if I just take this much code right here, and this is in the paint component right after it draws the backdrop. So here's the paint component, and this is where it draws the backdrop. So around line 150-ish. If I put this code right here and then actually, have to close it, what this will do is this. So our game's working normally, but look what happens when we get a game over now. Look at that. It just drew this black rectangle over the whole thing. Although it didn't draw it over the whole thing, it drew it over the background, but not the pieces, right? So actually, maybe it would be better if this was after everything, I think. So maybe it should go down here. So then the black rectangle will be over the entire screen. Yeah, I like that. So this just draws a rectangle, but not only should we draw a rectangle, we should tell the user that it's game over. And so you can do this in a very complicated way or not. One thing I can do is I can just see the draw UI right under here. So like, let's just copy these. And this is a font, and it's 32-point font. We can make that however size we want. Let's make it red. And then if I were to draw a string, G dot, I'm just looking down here to see how to do this. G dot draw string. Let's just see what it looks like if I say game over. And I will just pick X and Y coordinates. So let's just say I do this at 2020, right? I just put in an X and Y coordinate. Let's see what happens. Now, if we want to see our game over screen, it's kind of annoying. Okay, so that didn't work so good, right? So if we want to see our game over screen, it would be nice if we didn't have to go through an entire game. So let's go back up here to where it says game over false and start out with game over true for the moment, right? So I just changed that to game over equals true. And then when we start our game, we'll be sitting at this game over screen. And so we can kind of move our text around. So let's find the code here where I just did this. And this was obviously completely in the wrong place. Like this Y maybe like should be around like 500 or something, right? Okay, now it's here. It should be a little higher, I think. So maybe 400. Okay, maybe I want to move that over to the center. And maybe I want it bigger, right? I don't know. Let's maybe make this 48, size 48 font. Okay, cool. And then I want to move this over here. So this is like an X value of, well, how big is our screen? I think our screen is like around 1,000. So yeah, it shouldn't be at 200 here, right? Maybe we want to move over by like 400, 400, 400. What's that look like? That looks like that. That's almost centered. I can see the Tetris up here. So maybe this should actually be more like 380, right? So I'm just moving this around by hand. Um, that looks good. Is that around the center? I think it needs to move over a little bit still. So maybe like 390. Cool. And then we can draw another string. And maybe this will say press space to start. Now, of course, this is in the wrong place. So I should move this down. Maybe I'll move it down 100. That's okay, but maybe this could be moved over a little now. So maybe 300. That looks okay. I say as I'm moving it. That's a little to the left. Now there's ways to, we can calculate where the center is and actually place this appropriately. All right, that looks okay. So is that a good game over screen? I think it's good enough. So now what'll happen, I'll change this back to false. The game starts up. We're playing the game, Tetris, Tetris, Tetris. Oh, game over. And it says press space to start. But of course, I press space to start and nothing happens because we didn't add code for that yet. So we got to do that. And so we can go look at the lab. I'm not even going to read the lab. I'm just going to do it. Um, so if it's game over, we can find our code for where keys are being pressed. Actually, look right here. I see that there's code here for when people press the A key and the D key, right? Well, what if we do this? We'll just copy one of these, the A and the D code, and I'll put it right here. And we can just make this a space. And if they're pressing space, we want to reset the game, which I think is game area dot reset game. Wait, is that where we put it? Actually, sorry, lowercase g, game area dot reset game. Now, this is not the best way to do this because we have now whenever you press the space bar, the game will be reset. So for example, the game's playing, and let's see what happens if I press space. Well, I just cleared the board, right? So that is not ideal. Um, and also, you can see that pressing the space here doesn't actually reset the game. So we need to reset the game and then set game over to be false. And that should actually start the game. So let's see. So game over, press space. There we go. Game over, press space. Of course, this is still not good because if you press space now, it resets the board, which is not what we want. And so not only do we want like this right here, we only want to do this if it's game over, right? So this would be in this little code for space. If it's game over, we should do this. And the reason I didn't combine this condition with this condition is because I might want to use space for the pause key, is what I'm thinking. So now space here does nothing, right? I'm pressing space and nothing's happening. And if it's game over, then space does something. So that works now. Um, and then what we could do is we could say, if it's game over, do that. Otherwise, maybe we can set this variable called pause to be true. Now, the small problem with this is that there is no variable called pause. And this is not actually in the lab at this point. So there's no variable called pause. But if there was, then what pause would do would be, let's go up here where game over is and change just not Paul pause. So let's create a variable called pause, start it false. And then actually, we don't want to make pause true if you press the space bar. We want to make pause equal to not pause. What that'll do is if pause is true and you press space, then pause will be false. And if pause is false and you press space, then it'll reverse. So if it's true and you press space, it'll be false. And if it's false and you press space, it'll be true. Also, probably should make sure we reset it here as well. So what does this do? It doesn't visually do anything, right? Like I'm pressing space right now and still nothing's happening because we haven't actually made anything that could pause the game. But we can, because now that we have this variable called pause, we can come down here and it says like when we're updating the position, if game over is true, we should just return. But we can also add or if pause is true. we could return. So now if I press space, let's see what happens. Ah, the game paused. And if I press space again, it keeps going. So we have a working pause. It just doesn't tell us that the game is paused. But that's easy enough because you can come down here to the drawing code. And just like we have this game over, we can do almost the same thing, but we can make it if pause. And for the color, probably we don't need to draw a rectangle. Whoa, I don't know what I just did. We don't need to draw a rectangle if the game is paused. Does it need to be red? It could be red, but we can just say game paused, press space to unpause, something like that. And maybe adjust the positions of this a little bit, like maybe that goes over to 84. I don't know what it was, 88. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So what does this look like? Now if I press space, what happens? Game paused. Press space to unpause. There we go. So now we even have a working pause. Now I think if I press space here, yeah, cool. I think everything works now. So I think we have a working game. The only thing that I would want to add for myself is that I think that the game should speed up when you clear levels. And so right now, the you can see that the fall speed is 30, which means every 30 frames, the pieces fall by one spot. And we could actually change that because if we go down to the update position, for example, one thing we could do is we could say that the fall speed is equal, it's currently 30, right? But what we could do is we could say it's like 40 maybe, but then minus, let's say, 5 times your level, which is in game area dot get level. So what this would do is your falling speed would be 40 when you're, or actually your falling speed would be 35 when you're on level 1, because it'd be 40 minus 5 times 1. But when you get to level 2, it's 40 minus 5 times 2, which is 30. So that's every 30 frames. And then if you go up a level again, it'd be 40 minus 5 times 3, 40 minus 15. So your speed would be 25. And remember, that's every 25 frames you drop. So like this would be speeding up as it goes. Now, the problem is that this would eventually become negative. So you should also do something like fall speed equals math dot max of fall speed and whatever you want the fastest fall speed. So like if I did 1, then that would mean that the fall speed could never be faster than 1, which would be falling 1 block every frame, which is super fast. Um, and then another thing you could do is the fast fall speed, which I think is called fall speed fast equals um, what is fall speed fast? I think it's just 2 right now, but I could do the math dot minimum of fall speed and 1 or 2. So that would mean that the fast fall speed is always smaller or equal um, to the current fall speed. I don't know. Make both of these two. I'm not sure if this is great, but this is the idea. And so it's hard to show you this, but basically what this would be doing is if we can clear 10 lines, then actually look at this and kind of memorize how fast it's going. Did you do it? If you go to the game area, right, and we make a new game, what if we were to make the starting level 6? And I'll make the starting level 6 here. So if you do this, then and we run it, hopefully you see that this is significantly faster, right? Oops. Normally that shouldn't be possible, but we just found a bug in our game where the pieces can fall through the board if you rotate them near the bottom. So that's a bug technically, right? So these are very fast, and we can move the pieces very fast when you're on level 6, but it gets quite hard to play. Uh-oh, it slowed down when we cleared a line. Why did that happen? Right? So you can see that there's at least a small problem with our code where, um, oh, never mind. I know what happened. Um, what happened there was, I will show you. So we're currently level 6, right? According to what you see on the screen, level 6. When I do this, we'll go back to level 1. See? And then it got slower again. So you can't really just set the level to be whatever you want for the starting level here. But we did see that it was really fast, right? So that is what the code I added here does, is the higher your level, the faster it goes, but there's kind of a limit to that. Anyway, you can kind of adjust this to make it like the way you would want. I think this is probably good. 40 minus 4 times game area, get level. Um, Alrighty. So we did all this stuff here. We didn't do it quite the way it is written in the lab, but we added it. And we got a pause screen, we got game over, we got all that stuff. So all that's left are two things. So the two things left that I want to do, and I'll have to do this in another video, but to do, what do I need to do? Um, we need to, one, export a jar file that can be run outside of Eclipse, because right now you have to have Eclipse here. And the other thing that we'd like to do, or I would like to do, is like make a version that is a smaller window so that you can run it on a smaller screen, because some people have displays that can't fit the size, because I should not have made it 960, because some displays are only 720 or 768 pixels. And so we're going to make it 3/4 size. So we should make a version that has a, let's say, 75% size window. And that's all that we'll do in the other video. So it should be pretty quick. Um, all right, so that's enough of that. We're going to go ahead and stop this here.